Hello and howdy there, folks. A couple days ago, I saw The Place Beyond the Pines, and I thought it was okay. It's actually pretty challenging. I have been thinking about it for the past couple days. Basically, just trying to decide. I didn't love it, but I certainly didn't hate it, and there's too many redeeming qualities to, give it a negative review. But then again, I don't want to, absolutely praise it. I guess I'll give it a 7. I want to give it a 6. I want to give it a 6, but that's my, cutoff for not recommending it, I would say that 6 and below is basically a thumbs down, generally, maybe. I just don't think I need to tell people to go watch a 6, and I guess I can put it this way. I'm not going to tell anyone to run out and see The Place Beyond the Pines, though it is very ambitious. It's very ambitious. It's the second film I've seen. It may be his second feature-length film. I'm not entirely certain. From Derek Cyan Francais. I'm not sure how to say his last name. It could be Cyan France. I have no idea. Cyan Francais is what I'm going for. He made Blue Valentine, which was also a very ambitious film. Both films are ambitious in terms of their storytelling. Blue Valentine, I liked more than this, just because it was such a actor showcase for Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams, right? That was Michelle Williams. They just lived in those roles forever, and I thought that the end result, though not very uplifting, not very happy and pleasing, was still very moving and artful. So I got more out of that. Here it's just really the story is very ambitious. It definitely wants to reach. It really reaches here. You basically have an epic storyline, 3 generations. Not really generations. Well, in a way, yes. But it's about fatherhood, loss, parenting, abandonment. It's about very heavy, difficult subjects. It's not very, uplifting. It was very heavy, which is the same exact problem, and it's not a problem. It's just a personal issue I had with Blue Valentine. They're just very heavy, depressing films that offer no easy answers, which, of course, there's a place for that, and that's very important, but, in terms of an experience, it's not something that you would rush to do again. I've never had a desire to see Blue Valentine again, and I definitely don't think I would see this again. It is an epic storyline. It's an epic storyline, and at times it felt long. It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it did feel long. The second act gets long. In fact, if I'm being totally honest, I'd say, pretty much through the second act, I was just waiting for it to be over. Or at least what turns out to be that segment of the film. I was just waiting, for something to happen for it to be over. I guess you could say I was bored. I was bored for a little bit. Okay, the story, you basically watch 3 interconnected stories here. And it's not like they're interconnected, happening at the same time. One story happens, which leads to another story. The second story leads to the third story. So you're watching basically 3 mini story arcs that make up a very big, arc. So it's really very quite interesting. Again, I thought that the real ambition here, the real something new, something fresh, is all done in storytelling. Derek Cianfrance co-wrote this with someone. I can't remember that name, but he did not write this personally. But he did direct it. I believe he also produced it. He's definitely a unique voice, and he's one to watch. I hope he cheers up at some point. I want to see something just ever so slightly happier from him. Just to show me that he's okay. That he's got to be a heavy, intense guy, because his films are intense and heavy. All of the acting is really good. Well, I guess I wanted to finish more of the storyline. It's about fathers. The first half of the first act of the film focuses on Ryan Gosling. His character Luke is a stuntman, daredevil. And he discovers that he has a son that he didn't know that he had. He quits the daredevil lifestyle and instead does something far more stupid, and that's start robbing banks. Robbing banks to provide for his child. That doesn't go so well. And in the process of trying to catch him, we meet a police officer that is played by Bradley Cooper. And Bradley Cooper feels responsible for his actions and for the, I'm trying not to spoil anything, but for the son of Ryan Gosling, and he feels responsible. And we get to meet him now. The story basically moves to his life. So now we're off of Ryan Gosling and his character, and now we're on to Bradley Cooper and his character. We're examining his, life. He is also a new father. He also lives under the very powerful presence of his own father. So it definitely has that fatherhood connection. We see that he's ambitious. We see that, he will do what is right, not what people tell him is right. And so then the story advances even more. We actually get a title card that says 15 years pass. And so there you go. It's now 15 years later, and the third arc of the story starts, and now we are left with the children of the men we've been introduced with, the children of Ryan Gosling and Bradley Cooper. And now we're watching them. The son of Bradley Cooper, I didn't even look, didn't look familiar to me. The son of Ryan Gosling is Dane DeHaan, who has struck it big recently through Chronicle. He was the bad guy in Chronicle. He also had a brief role in Lincoln, and he will soon be playing the Green Goblin in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So again, he's blowing up here. He was very good here. He's intense. There's just lots of intensity. It's wall-to-wall intensity, actually. So we end the film focusing on the children of the characters we've come to know. And, the story in general wraps up nicely. I mean, an epic story is brought to conclusion. So the story is very ambitious. All of the acting is very intense. There's not a bad performance in the house. I guess in terms of the satellite characters, I guess some of them could be, considered one note in a way. I just got the feeling that, why did they get such powerful and recognizable actors to play, these roles that you don't really need to be distracted by? I would say sometimes I thought that the casting was a little bit distracting, just in terms of Ray Liotta is the example I'm thinking of. He plays kind of a crooked cop. I mean, he's Ray Liotta. You look at Ray Liotta and you know that he's not right. Something is not right. So I guess that's the logic behind it, is if you cast him in that, your brain doesn't have to do much of the thinking. You know exactly that he's a crooked cop and he's Ray Liotta, and, you know, it's not going to end well with him. The casting is, I would say, good. There's a lot of recognizable faces. I mean, even if you don't know names, you'll say, oh, it's that guy, you know. That's, you know, happens a lot to me in this film. I can't tell you, basically probably 50% or 60% of the names, but I recognized pretty much 90% of the faces. So there were a lot of character actors, working character actors filling out this film. You know, I think they're all very method. You know, I would think that Sion Francais is a very method driven director. I think that's pretty obvious. I'm trying to remember some other big names from the film, but I'm not doing that good a job of it. But I got the big ones. I guess some of the things I didn't like about it. Again, we are dealing with a story that spans, you know, maybe 30 years, but it didn't ever feel like, even though I at one time was bored and then I thought it was a long movie, and I thought, well, now I'm just waiting for it to be over, things just kind of happened, like, you know, Ryan Gosling character. You know, he quits his job. He goes out to clear his mind on a drive, and on that drive he meets like a soulmate. You know, just this simpatico character. They're instant best friends. You know, he's been like without a job and without meaning in his life for exactly like an hour. You know, an hour, and all he has to do is like, oh, you know, I've got this new boy, I need to straighten my life out. Well, I'm going to take a motorcycle ride, and 1 hour later, he's got, you know, a whole new life. He's found a new soulmate best friend. He's got a job. He's got a place to live, and it's like there's no drama there. You know, there's no build-up. It just kind of happens, and that happens throughout the film. It's just kind of, there are many convenient plot points, you know, it just for convenience in keeping this mammoth story moving. You know, they just make little cheats here and there, I would call them. And it's just like, well, you know, okay. And then, in fact, when that title card came up that said 15 years later, I'm like, what? It's like, okay, you know, I guess if we're just going to do that, then, I mean, it was like they had been doing that. It was just like, all of the stuff we've been watching in real life has to take so much time, you know, that you, like, believe that so much time passes that it's like not even paying attention to the human perception of time. And then it goes, well, 15 years later. And you're like, well, they could have been just doing that throughout. You know, just give us a title card every 5 minutes ago. Well, this is 6 months later, and now it's 9 months later, and now it's, you know, 2 years later, and now we're going 7 months, or 7 years later. But just to get it all done, like 15 years later, it's like, okay. It was very convenient. You know, there was some very convenient storytelling going on, but it was to get that huge story moving and to get the ultimate point across, I believe. A lot of people, I have a feeling, like this film a lot more than I did. The theater, I saw this, I guess it was on a Tuesday matinee, and the theater was about a quarter full. You know, I would call it a good crowd. And when the film was over, there were at least 2 pockets of people that applauded, like gave a, you know, vigorous applause. And my gut instinct was to tell them to be quiet. I was just like, oh, please, you have no idea. You know, this film is definitely not applause-worthy. You know, that kind of surprised me, and it just gave me the impression that they were applauding what they thought was some high, great work of art, you know, that they just don't really know. But that's my cynical viewpoint. Again, I resisted every natural urge in my body that when those people, applauded, I wanted to hiss. I wanted to provide a adamant counterpoint to their, what I felt was unnecessary applause. I really just wanted to hiss as loud as I could. But I didn't. I resisted the urge to be the ultimate asshole that I'm told I can be. I think a 6 is fair. I'm not going to tell you to go out and see this film. If you get a hard-on for acting, then sure. You can go see it, because there is some wall-to-wall intensity, some real pain being expressed here. And you see a lot of it. Gosling is always quietly intense. I can't say that he does anything too new here. Bradley Cooper is definitely not as good as he was in Silver Lining Playbook, but he's still good. Definitely showing depth. And Dane DeHaan, again, not really doing anything new here, just doing what he does very well. That's what the film is all of these actors not doing really stretching their legs, but they just do what they do, and they do it really well. So if you're into the acting, then go for the acting. And if you want to see like a very ambitious story, and trying to move, writing and storytelling ahead, then I'll definitely recommend it. But it's certainly not uplifting. It's certainly not fast-paced. It certainly demands focus. And I don't know. I'm just not going to tell you to do it. I'm not going to tell you to go out and spend $14 to be depressed and have to pay attention and to be somewhat bored. I'm just not going to do it. So I think a 6 is a fair rating. Just because I thought it was good, but certainly not great. And I can't. I'm not going to tell you to go watch it. I'm just not going to tell anyone to go watch it. So I guess that's all I have to say about that. That's The Place Beyond the Pines, and I give it a solid 6. Thank you very much.